You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Haney, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 419. Before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. I want to clarify a couple of things. In the previous episode was 418, and Chase Daniel on the show, the facility, the faculty, whatever you call it, that show with Emmanuel Acho, LaShawn McCoy, and James Jones. Chase Daniel was the one who said, and I quote, called the Baltimore Ravens the greatest show on grass. So I wanted to clarify that. I also forgot to mention and wanted to add one more statement to my last final thought. No matter if a team plays well like the Ravens do, let's say next week they lose, people switch up and they'll keep the same energy. So I just wanted to make sure I got that off my chest before we get into this episode. As you see the title of the video, we're talking about the Washington Commanders losing to the that team in Dallas. Episodes 420, 21, and 22 will be recorded later this week. I'll be tuning in for those future episodes. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe for our future content. Thank you for the support you're giving me in this channel. The Washington Commanders lost to that team in Dallas. The final score, 34.
What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airwaves, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God's...
Game over, yeah!
Wow. Okay. I don't really know where to begin. The fact that 30 points were scored in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, or this just, I don't want to say a trap game. I don't want to say that we fall into old habits. Have we been exposed? Have we been figured out? I mean, when you look at the game, coming in the halftime was 6 points combined. And after, I thought after losing to two, in my opinion, two good teams, I thought we would have figured this out against a team that has been dysfunctional from top to bottom. And that didn't happen. This was a disappointing loss. This, to me, I mean, we have 5 games left of the season. I think there's plenty of things for this team to turn it around. But I mean, my eyes are, I'm shocked at what I'm seeing. Let's start with, let me start it with this way. It's going to start with coaching. And again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse with this, but coaching matters. It starts with your play calling. I'm Cliff Kingsbury is supposed to be this play calling guru and all these different things like that. And I'm trying to understand the guy who's worried about running the ball and his play designs are to take advantage of the short to intermediate middle of the field. I didn't see any of that. Now I know Brian Robinson, he's been hurt. He only finished the game with 5 carries for 13 yards, so he was non-existent. Jeremy McNichols, I believe, if I remember correctly, no, he was on the active squad, and he didn't really use him. But when you looked at all three, Brian, Jeremy, Austin Eckler, 17 carries for 57 yards, no touchdowns. I can't defend that. And you're going against one of the worst rushing defenses. That looked like last year's team running the ball. And the passing wasn't that much better. I thought that would have at least ignited some things, but gave a spark, a jolt to this offense. I didn't see anything like that. But we didn't even touch the middle of the field. I feel like our run game has regressed. Austin Eckler, he got hurt, and Brian Robinson, now another injury, this time with his ankle. It's just like, what's going on right now? Jaden Daniels, again, I've heard all the discourse, is he still hurt again? Injuries, you don't come off injuries within a magic or like a day or two. Injuries take time. I think his regression is not. He's not the sole reason for why we're seeing what we're seeing so far. The play calling in the offense as a whole has regressed. Yes, 25 of 38 for 275 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. When you look at those numbers, you step back and say, okay, they're okay. It could have been better. But again, most of those, when you look at those stats, that came in garbage time. He was 2 of 7 for 3 yards with 10 minutes left in the second quarter. And then he was 12 of 22, 80 yards in a pick going into the fourth quarter.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
When you look at it throughout the game, there were a lot of times, he's missing his targets. And again, some of the passes looked off. Now, and that credit Dallas's defense. They put pressure on him, and he didn't handle that. And his offensive line didn't help him with that neither. The 86-yard touchdown to Terry McLaurin was great, but the fact that those last 40 yards, that was Terry that did that. But in fairness, the last interception was a Hail Mary. So I'm not going to really shade him for that. But I thought he looked decent. But also his receivers didn't help him too. There were a couple passes, brothers. Again, this is the same thing I said with Lamar Jackson. Your playmakers got to step up. That can't always be on the quarterback, But okay, he ran the ball 7 times for 74 yards. Even though this was not, you could say this was a disappointing game. But I do think if you've noticed, you do have some questions. I think it starts with your offensive coordinator, play calling. And that brings me to my next point. Your offensive line, again, the reason why you're seeing, if we're going to talk about his regression and what you've been seeing these last few weeks, the offensive line is very suspect. Now listen, Tyler Medise and Andrew Wiley were out. Were evaluated for concussions. Understand that. But our protecting him pass-wise was piss poor. How many times did you see defensively blitz and different things to create mismatches and put Jaden in situations where it made him uncomfortable. I mean, to me, Dallas won the battle in the trenches, and that's an area where I thought we would have gotten better. I've seen the same mistakes, and again, if you look at it too, missed opportunities, but also too mistakes will come back to bite you. Those 2 interceptions didn't help him, but also too, again, I go back to let's continue with the offense. The offensive line had 2 legal formation penalties. It was Noah Ingbinohe. He had a pass interference called in the third quarter. 2 fumbles. John Bates, Austin Eckler. Bates turned the ball over on the Bates fumble. I mean, we find it's just like the Baltimore Ravens. It's self-inflicted. I mean, and especially when you are a playoff team, and you especially when you're going against the good teams, you cannot make mistakes. They will get better. However, you can't defend that. And then when you look at overall, the offense as a whole, even though as we had 415 yards, there were periods of we're not moving the ball. Missed a field goal in the first quarter. We allowed 4 punts after his Jaden's first interception. We were limited to with those 3 drives. We had the first one within those 3 drives. After that one was 12 yards, 11 yards, and 29 yards. After that, that was following the 10-play, 60-yard drive touchdown to start the second half. Then went 3 straight outs with after 12 yards. I mean, when you really look at it, to me, like there are positives you can take, but you're kind of seeing the same tape over and over again. And again, when you look at it, those 6 minutes of the game, honestly, I'd say last 2 minutes, last 6 minutes, I'll say that was some of the most interesting football because the score should have been what it was. Should have been. I mean, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I mean, took a vine for 35 points in the last 6 minutes. I spoke. I apologize for that. 35 points in the last 6 minutes. That says a lot. That kind of reminds me of the Baltimore Ravens. This was actually after we won the Super Bowl the year after. We played the Minnesota Vikings, and we played it in the sleet, freezing rain bowl, as I called it. And the last 2 minutes, it was a crazy back and forth. Jacoby Jones had a kick return. Toby Gerhart, Cordell Patterson, and then Marlon Brown for the Ravens had the game-winning touchdown. That season was wild for us, but anywho, my next, I'll give some positives now. The special teams, they did well for the most part. I think our special teams has been kind of has had a lot of positives. There were some moments in this game where they looked good. We'll talk about the Mr. Turpin, as you see in the title of the video. We'll talk about it in a second. Quan Martin blocked the field goal on their opening drive. That was back to the 40-yard line, if I remember correctly. The Brian Agler's punt that got kicked. That's the first time, I want to say, since the late 70s that happened. So big ups to that. But again, the mistakes came in the fourth quarter cheat switch. And, then we talk about Mr. Cavante Turpin with the Madden 2004 Hall of Fame kick return cheese, because how that happened for 99 yards is beyond me. So that was something. And I think also too, what was key was the turnover battle. I looked at the stats, and the team. I mean, when you're getting by, when you win games with less turnovers, statistically you should win the game. John Bates fumbling the ball put him up 20-9. You were up 4 points. but it just felt like, again, at some point, it just turnovers hurt, and it's at crucial points of the game. I know that's more of a negative, but those things can't happen. And the defense. Now, there's a positive and a negative. For the most part, for 3 quarters, defensively, we looked okay. We forced 5 punts. We forced a turnover. We held them to 20 points. But again, like for 3 quarters, you saw it. They looked pretty good. It bended, but unfortunately in the fourth quarter they broke. Cooper Rush, he completed 75% of his passes, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rico Dinwiddie, he had 86 yards. Luke Shoemaker, taking over for Jake Ferguson. But I mean, their offense didn't go into the fourth quarter, and those last 2 drives they had to settle for 2 field goals, and that didn't help them. But again, they punted the ball 3 times and gave up home on the first half, and then when he made, that's when things happened in the fourth. So, credit their defense when at the worst time it happened. Especially when I mean in the fourth, for example, what happened was, when you're facing an offense that has essentially 3 backups on offensive line, and outside of CeeDee Lamb, you should win the game. Okay. But Dallas moved the ball. They, we only sacked Cooper Rush 1 time, but also and they kept the clock moving. That can't happen. I mean, I think he would to pass the ball 32 times. We didn't get pressure to him much at all in the game, and I don't understand. Like you've practiced, like this is your team. You should know how to beat them matchup wise. So I don't know, but also in the first half too, defensively, I know we're beating. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I have to talk about it. If you remember, they had a chance to get in a field goal position before the first half, and they did that, and it's tied it up at 3 apiece going into halftime. Okay. I think that play right there was miscommunication, because it was Brandon St. Juste on Jalen Brooks. And I mean, every time I've noticed, I don't know, maybe Sean Spencer, Will Kramer, shout out to them for Washington Football Weekly, and even Anton Benton and Alex Stevens and Sean Spencer for Washington Roundtable, and even Abs, they probably could attest to this. Every time an opponent needs to make a play, just target St. Juste. No, and I don't think Marshawn, and if Marshawn Latimore's out there, I don't know if that made a difference. I don't know. And Jeremy Chin, he didn't really help on that play neither. But I mean, I don't know why. And Emmanuel Forbes is sitting there. I don't know why we're not giving him opportunities. But again, secondary just really didn't have the greatest game. But I thought that also that hurt, especially. But I mean, outside of that, that was pretty much what I felt about the game. I felt like we did all the right things, but it really stung, because I felt like you're going up against a team you should beat. Dallas is not a good team. We know that they have been a mess all this season, and it just felt like, to me, we just kind of gave them, like Mike McCarthy got bailed out almost. I mean, every time Washington, we just let them win, and I think you should know you should know the personnel better than anybody. Why are we? To me, I felt like as the entire game we played conservative, there were opportunities where I'm like, yo, let's go. What are we doing? And the same thing he did early in the season. He was being safe. I don't know what this. I don't know what that is, and I can't put my finger on it. But like, I don't know. But I'm not. It just was really, really, really weird to watch. The score should not. The score does not reflect how really, if I'm being honest, both teams looked Sunday. And it doesn't reflect that. It just was that was something. When you look at for Dallas, Cooper Rush, I'm not really fond of him, but I mean, he did what you expect your backup to do, made plays, and you're putting a difficult situation. You're beating it, and again, divisional matchups are different. But also too, let's be real. Dallas defensively, they've had some injuries. When you have Michael Parsons and Deron Bland and those guys back healthy, that makes a difference. And they forced 3 turnovers and gave us, and that was that bothered us all game. I don't know. So outside of that, this stings, but we're going to be okay. I'm not concerned, but I really would have thought, especially after losing to Philly and then Pittsburgh, I thought we really, really would have figured it out, but we didn't do that. And even as the game progressed, you had Trey Lance out there. He getting the Justin Fields package. That's what I call it. And he was out there making some plays. But our special teams, in that last minute, we made some mistakes. Our offense, our defense, just really all phases of the football, just kind of just disappointed. But Austin Siebert missed the game time field goal and was now put on the IR. I have an issue with that because if he was hurt before coming into this game, why was he even out there? For me, when I watched his kicks, they've always kind of been shaky, especially extra points. Kind of like, well, why does he kick the ball like that? Now I know it was a bad snap, but I mean, like, and I feel bad because we shouldn't be putting the loss on his shoulders, and that's not fair to do. Again, I don't like the fact he's on the IR. I mean, I wish him gets well soon, but if he wasn't healthy, he shouldn't have been playing out there. Period. Go with Zane Gonzalez, who enrolled, has been doing a good job for you. So, you look at this, you were at one point, you were first place. The last 2 weeks, you're now 7-5. Now you still have yet to overcome, just like the Ravens, you got to overcome yourself. Now you've lost to Pittsburgh, you've lost to Philly, now you've lost to Dallas. But you look at this right now, you could be 9-3, you could be 10-2, and hell, you could be even 11-1. Okay, that's just my opinion. I think Philadelphia will win the NFC East. I still pick this team to win 10 games. I'm going to keep now pushing down to 10. Just from what I've seen the last couple games. But these stuff, the same thing. They got to figure out how to get out there. They got to look at each other, take a look in the mirror at each other, and they dug themselves in a hole and couldn't get out of it. And I mean, they came back and they were flawed, but still, you created obstacles and you just couldn't overcome them. Respectfully, you got 3 more home games and you got the bye week, so I think there's a lot to take away, a lot to grow from, and they'll be fine. But those last 6 minutes was something, and My God. if only it's what if, but yes. So that happened, but that's my overall takeaways of what happened this past Sunday. That was something. It was a good game, but it did not. The score, the final score, does not reflect the whole 60 minutes. If I'm being honest, that's the best way I can say it. So, yes, outside of them, the Commanders, and the Maryland Terrapins. That was interesting. That was interesting. That was a way to really piss your weekend off. But the Maryland women's basketball team really made my weekend. After that thing you call a basketball game against that team at the Xfinity Center. But we'll talk about that in another video, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to conclude the takeaways. Let's get into the one final thought after a commercial break.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
One final thought. I know this is not nothing to do, but this isn't because it is a divisional rival. Daniel Jones is no longer with the New York G-Men as I'm recording this video. He was released, and I think the argument that I've made the last couple of years about quarterbacks and your owners, your how you draft and how you develop players matter. I think his being cut by the Giants, I think reinforced my argument. We can say what we want about, whether this is why they should have paid Saquon Barkley, all this other stuff. The Giants' last 6 years, okay, they've been an atrocity. They've been a mess. They've been dysfunctional. And if you pay Saquon Barkley, the results, nothing's changing. They've made the playoffs one time in the last 6 years. And even before Daniel Jones, even when Eli Manning was there, they were struggling. This is bigger than Saquon Barkley. This is bigger than Daniel Jones. This is the New York Giants as a whole. It's your front office. Your front office matters. It's how you draft, how you develop. What's your identity? I know sometimes, identity matters. They put Tommy DeVito out there and Drew Lock. That's not, what is that doing? That's not fixing anything. I mean, Washington faced Cooper Rush and an offensive line that had injuries. Respectful should have beat them. And again, people are saying, well, this is why Dallas should sign Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's not fixing that in Dallas. You have a former Pro Bowler in Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dinwiddie, and Deuce Vaughn. If you can't figure out how to use those three in Dallas, what makes you think Derrick Henry was going to fix that? The same thing in New York. If you pay Saquon Barkley, what is that doing? I mean, today's NFL has already told you You don't have to pay a running back. You can find those guys in free agency, or you can find them in the draft. Hell, running backs aren't even considered a first-round pick. So my point is, at the end of the day, like, we can sit here and say, well, Daniel Jones wasn't a good quarterback for them. That's fine. That whole draft class as a whole, we look back at it, was a lot of hits and misses. But this is more about the Giants than Daniel Jones. And then when people make fun of him saying, I hope you become Brock Purdy's backup quarterback, when that person was referring to Sam Darnold, then you see why players don't like to talk to the media, and then they have podcasts like Micah Parsons, for example. Because respectfully, when you clown players and make fun of them getting cut and released, especially when you're on national TV, players see that, families see that, their representatives see that, and then you get mad. Well, how come they don't want to talk to me? It's stuff like that. So again, this is bigger than quarterbacks. This is an organizational failure. I've tried to prove that point, and my point has now, I think, officially been proven. That's my one final thought. Daniel Jones will be on a team, I think, that will help him get better. Even though I think where he's at currently, they have a rookie quarterback they drafted, so they're going to have to figure that out, because that's not fair to the quarterback that they drafted, and now you're going to have somebody that's having a resurgence in his career and then the backup now too. So Saquon Barkley, he's happy in Philly. That's what you get in New York. So that's mediocrity. And they haven't gotten better. And that GM should be fired. But I know he won't. So that's my one final thought. Please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. Thank you for supporting this channel. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please stay safe. Like, comment, subscribe. Get out of here. Peace. Stay up.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
He didn't even try.
These are legitimate questions. I don't have answers. This is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
Skip. Good Lord. Thank the good Lord I am on FCC airwaves. I thank the good Lord. It's hard to take, man. I don't understand it. I don't understand how these dudes put themselves in this situation. I truly do not understand it. That's the kindest way I can put it. I think to go any further than that, Skip, I might lose it. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay.
I'm just not gonna lie to you.
I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. This is disgusting. It's disgraceful. It's embarrassing. And I'm ticked off. It don't make any sense. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. And something needs to be done about it. Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
I mean, damn! Damn!
This is how I believe, okay? I'm from the old school. I believe this. I would rather play with 10 people and just get penalized all the way until we got to do something else, rather than play with 11 when I know that right now that person is not sold out to be a part of this team. It is more about them than it is about the team. I cannot play with them, cannot win with them, cannot coach with them, can't do it. I want winners. I want people that want to win.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I'm going to reiterate my comments right here, right now. The clock is officially ticking. The honeymoon is over. Damn your feelings. Who gives a damn? You got a job to do. And the job ain't even a championship. It's to be respectable. And you can't even do that?